Welcome to Rambam in Depth. Today we'll be discussing the Rambam Hilchot Melachim, Perek Hey, Halacha Tes. The Rambam writes as follows: Asa latzis me'eretz Yisrael l'chutz la'aretz li'olam. One is never permitted to leave Eretz Yisrael to go to the diaspora, Elo, with the exceptions of Lilmud Torah, Elisa Isha, to learn Torah or to get married. So those are the two mitzvahs that allow a person to leave Eretz Yisrael. There's a dispute amongst many the poskim whether this applies to all mitzvahs, and these are just two examples, or it applies only to these two. But the question, however, is asked that the Rambam seems to have omitted another mitzvah, kibbud av v'em. Gemara in Kiddushin of Lamed Aleph Amud Beis says that you're allowed to leave Eretz Yisrael, and one of the sages would leave Eretz Yisrael to greet his mother and away to Eretz Yisrael, and yet he was allowed to leave. So the answer the Rebbe gives is a very simple answer. In Likutei Sichot, when this sage went to greet his father and mother, to escort them to Eretz Yisrael, that's not called leaving Eretz Yisrael. Leaving Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz is when you're going for some other objective other than for the purpose of Eretz Yisrael. You're going for business, you're going for visitation, whatever it may be, but it's not for the sake of Eretz Yisrael. So there's the only exception is learning Torah and getting married. However, when he left Eretz Yisrael in order to escort his parents back into Eretz Yisrael, that means his whole purpose of going out was to bring them back in. And this is an explanation of Rashi, the Rebbe says, in the Chumash when it says, Vayishlach malachim, that the malachim escorted Yaakov. They met him and they escorted him. So Rashi says, malachim shel Eretz Yisrael, bo likrasil Vayishlach la'aretz. That it was the malachim of Eretz Yisrael that went out to greet him, to escort him back into Eretz Yisrael. So it seems that the malachim, even though they were malach Eretz Yisrael, they were able to go outside of Eretz Yisrael. And the Mefarshim ask, in an earlier Rashi, in the beginning of Parshas Vayetze, it says, "V'hinei malachi elikim elim v'yerdim." In the dream that Yaakov Avinu had, he says malachim were going up and going down. Which malachim were going up? It says the malachim that escorted him in Eretz Yisrael, they don't go outside of Eretz Yisrael. They had to stay in Eretz Yisrael. So yet here we see that the malachim were exited Eretz Yisrael to escort Yaakov. But the difference is that when they greet someone to bring them into Eretz Yisrael, that means the whole purpose of going out was to bring someone into Eretz Yisrael, and therefore it is permissible. It's not considered going outside of Eretz Yisrael.